Welcome to Nerd Street! I'm Nick.
And I'm Brent.
And we're here to talk about everything nerd, everything we care about, everything in pop culture that gets us going, okay? First video, we're going to bring up Deadpool 2, causing a lot of splash. There's been a lot going on in the superhero world, the science fiction world, and everything comic books, video games, and everything we love. Today's topic, like I said, Deadpool 2. I'm going to give my analysis, my buddy Brent's going to give his, and I think we're going to start with Brent since his analysis is going to be way worse, mine's going to be way better. So, go ahead, start it off.
Now, what we want to make sure people know, we're going to do this isn't going to be the only video review we ever do. So we're going to do ours a little different. We're going to start with no spoilers. We're going to give our no spoiler impressions of the movie, and then when we're ready to start getting into spoilers, we'll let you know, and you can click away if you haven't seen the movie yet. So, my no spoiler impression of Deadpool 2. I loved it. I thought it was almost as good as the first one. It had the action, bigger budget, so better effects and things like that.
Bigger budget, though. I gotta say this. Not bigger budget to the point where I thought it was like an Avengers movie or a Captain America movie. It made sure it didn't use its money to candy coat it in that way. It still kept the rugged rawness that Deadpool 1 brought you without using the money to sugarcoat, gloss everything over, and make everything CG. It wasn't like that. It still had the heart of the hardcore effects that you expect from Deadpool, I thought.
Right. Oh, yeah. It wasn't an effects movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are movies out there that they're just effects. Any natural disaster movie where there's a hurricane that flattens New York or whatever, you're just watching that for the effects.
John Cusack comes in and just saves the world for no reason.
Right. Deadpool, you've got the character development, not as much as in one, but because we already know the characters. So the effects were for the fight scenes and for some of the other stuff, which we'll talk about in the spoilery part. But again, it was, the character was there, the humor was there, the dialogue.
We had some drama coming from Deadpool.
Some drama.
That made sense. That made sense for Deadpool, and that as an audience you could definitely work with and definitely make sense of, and not think it was out of whack or out of sorts for the franchise.
It definitely flowed properly.
Really well. It rode a real nice wave all the way to the end.
So I don't want to say more of my review until we get to the spoilery part, because I'm afraid I'm just going to say the wrong
It's too hard.
thing.
There's so much going on in this movie, so much great stuff, that it's hard to talk about anything without pinpointing a little bit. So with that, I'm going to give a little bit of my generalized non-spoiler review, and then we'll cue you guys in when to turn away when we're going to start spoiling stuff. All right, so for me, I was floored. I was blown away. Sequels are never better than the originals. I'm going to flat out say this was definitely better than the first one. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree. I just think more of what made something great, to me, makes everything better. So it's pretty much Deadpool 1 on steroids for me. Better villain, surprises. I know one surprise that had my jaw on the floor that I've been waiting since I've been a teenager to see in live action. I finally got the right version of this character. That's all I'm going to say about that. Cable was badass. Cable was everything you wanted him to be. Cable, if you're an old school comic book fan and you grew up reading Cable, this is going to be for you. This is a Deadpool movie where if you know your shit from back in the day, this is going to represent Deadpool. The chemistry between Deadpool and Cable was unbelievable, unreal. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't overdone. It was the perfect balance. Now, it's hard to not talk about more without spoiling.
Right. So I guess at this point, we will go into the spoilery part. So if you're still here and you haven't seen the movie, leave now. If you're still here and you get it spoiled, it's on you. So spoiler alert in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now we can just ruin it forever.
All right, man. Magneto and Wolverine came in, and no, I'm just kidding. It didn't get there. I'm just kidding. All right, so I think we should talk about the elephant in the room. The great surprise. Fucking Juggernaut. Pardon my French, but Juggernaut was the Juggernaut. He represented 100%. He gave everyone in that movie problems, as he should. He gave Colossus a run for his money. His mouthpiece was on point, meaning all he did was talk the right shit. I think there was something he said about, I think what character was he rolling with? I think the kid was like, hey man, there's a lot of death and destruction around the town after everything was said and done, and Juggernaut looks at him and says, death and destruction is my legal middle name, and it's just the way he delivered it and the way Juggernaut really believed his own badassness. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're the Juggernaut, you know how badass you are. That was cool. Now, what did you think about him being CGI under the helmet?
Well, because of the size of him, you kind of had to make him CGI.
I agree.
And that would be a tough outfit for a real person to fill out.
Jesus, I know.
and do anything besides walk around like a robot.
Oh man, so that's probably why they had to do it that way. Plus, what I love not worrying about, knowing that he was CGI under the helmet, was I didn't have to bring any reality into it. I didn't have to figure out who would play the best Juggernaut. I didn't have to try to make a better, actor to play Juggernaut in my head that I would have picked. None of that stuff you have to worry about because he was CGI. Didn't need to take the helmet off. It's not like Wolverine was going to come in there and rip it off with his claws like he did in the comics. You did not need to know who was under the mask. All you need to see was him be the Juggernaut and beat the shit out of everyone, and that's what we got.
Yeah.
So, for sure.
I mean, if I had stopped to think about it, and before I saw the movie, if you said, in your opinion, who would be the perfect bad guy to bring in against Deadpool? Juggernaut would have been it.
Dude, that's why they hit it on the head.
Yeah.
It's the villain you needed and didn't know you did, or if you did, you got served. You got fed.
Right.
You got fed the greatest dinner plate ever when it came to that.
Now, I thought Black Tom Cassidy, I thought that was kind of lame. And when they first introduced him, I was thinking, is he going to be the big bad guy, whatever?
Which would have been disappointing.
Yeah.
Black Tom Cassidy, you're right. I didn't know if that would have been the best fit for a villain, for Cable and Domino and all these, Deadpool, all these big time heroes, or anti-heroes, if you will, would have an easy time with Cassidy. And Cassidy was a much deeper, fleshed out character in the comics, but that's not taking away from Cassidy in the film, because that wasn't his role. It wasn't a necessary moving part of the story. So Cassidy filled his spot correctly and was out, and then we brought the badasses in after that.
Now I want to touch on something you mentioned, Domino.
Yeah.
What did you think of this Domino?
Oh man, I'm glad you brought that up. Domino looked... I wasn't a fan from the preview. I was like, shit, here we go. This is just a filler. This is just Jude Law in every movie. We can't hire anyone special, so let's just fill it with what works for society at the time. I was wrong. Big time wrong. Domino, who did a wonderful job, was played by Zazie or Zazie Beetz. If I butchered that name, I apologize. My bad.
She's not going to be watching it or
Yeah,
video anymore. Maybe
I know.
if you are watching it, well then, I love you.
Oh my God, you were amazing. And then, so I was very pleasantly surprised. She was a great actress. Her chemistry with Deadpool was effing surprising. Man, she would pump up Deadpool in a positive way in the midst of battle or hardship. And anytime she said anything to Deadpool would just look at her and say, X-Force, yeah! And they would go and take care of business. That was their thing together, is even though X-Force wasn't that big, in numbers, they had a good group, and then, what did you think about 80% of X-Force dying within their first 5 minutes of their mission?
I thought that was pretty hilarious, and it actually, it's kind of, I wonder if it's a throwback to, I don't remember if it was New Mutants or X-Force. There was one of those comics that they brought in a bunch of new characters and killed them off in that first episode. So I wonder if they were doing an homage to that a little bit.
If they were, job well done, because that was
hilarious. Yeah,
that worked so well. Cameo by Brad Pitt.
Right?
Yeah. Who did he play? The Vanisher?
The Vanisher, yeah. I was looking at it, I'm like, who that looked like? And then I had to check on my phone after the movie.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah.
And you told me that. We got it. You're like, no, Brad Pitt was the Vanisher. I was like, no, he wasn't. Brad Pitt wasn't in any Marvel movie. And you're like, yes, he was. And I went, saw it again. I was like, holy shit, you're right. That was Brad Pitt.
And he was originally slated, they were trying to get him to play Cable. Which I don't know how that would have gone. I think Josh Brolin did a great job.
Man, Josh Brolin is nailing home runs out of the park for the Marvel cinema.
Well, he's in like every movie right now. He's
gosh.
Cable. He's Thanos. He's in Sicario too, which is coming out.
Everyone wants to see that too.
Yeah, so he's got 3 movies right now this summer.
Yep.
Now, refresh my memory, because
Sure.
in in the old X-Force comics, was Domino's power luck?
Not per se as much as Han Solo's power is luck. You know what I mean? Right place, right time. You can call it what you will. You can call it in tune with the surroundings around you, or just, being that badass, and in tune with everything around you, basically, for you to make the right decisions. But then we're talking about luck, and that's just...
Well, I know in the X-Men...
is the best I can...
The X-Men had a character, Longshot, that his power was luck.
Lucky shots, huh?
Right, but I don't recall Domino having that power. Now,
basically, we can't label her power that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't recall what her actual power was. Now, also, in the comics, it was a little different because Cable and Domino and I think even Deadpool, they were part of the Mutant Liberation Front, the MLF, which... As if you're still watching this, you've seen the movie already, so that doesn't come into play anywhere. They had Zero, that guy who could create the teleportation.
Yeah, that was awesome. Good teammate power right there.
Yeah,
man.
so you cut that down to just basically Deadpool, Domino, and Cable, and then I liked how they introduced Shatterstar. I think he looked cool.
He did.
Shatterstar as a character deserved better than what we saw in this movie, but
true.
He's got too much backstory to put in.
He does. I think he would take a big chunk out of the film.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's ballsy to use a semi-popular, pretty good middle-level tier Marvel character and kill him that fast. I think that's part of the greatness of Deadpool 2, to have the nuts basically to do that is just awesome. Let's talk about Cable a little more. What did you think in general?
Yeah, I thought Brolin did him justice. I don't necessarily know if I like this interpretation of Cable.
Okay. Do you think it's less like the comics and more contemporary?
Oh, absolutely. Because
Cable
in the comics, he was the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey from the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We know he comes from the future, but they don't touch on his backstory at all. He's coming to save his family from this firebug guy and whatever, and I
don't know. They couldn't flesh it out because the movie went at 100 miles an hour, right?
Oh, sure,
so since it's going that fast, you have to just give little snippets of people's backstory, which worked for the film. But of course, if we had our say, we'd want a Lord of the Rings length 3-hour film that fleshes out every character. In my world, that's what every superhero movie would do. Be as long as a Star Wars film, flesh out every character you can, give them their backstory to the point where you don't even feel like you were in the theater for 3 hours because it was filled with so much info you needed.
Right.
Could have been that way, but that way doesn't sell tickets. People can't sit in the theater for that long, so I understand that. So, but you are right. What I didn't like about Cable, he was amazing, but the thing that I kept having a problem with, and I don't know how nitpicky this is, was his tech, his guns. His guns, when I was reading him in comics and X-Force comics, his guns were fucking bigger. Or not. Well, he had big ass guns in this, but somehow his guns was big, chrome, wired out. They looked like they were from the future. His guns in Deadpool 2 looked like they could have came from today.
Right.
I will say that.
Well, that's because Rob Liefeld's drawing style was just to make everything gigantic. So
you're right. That's more of an what you get in the artistry of comic books. You know what I mean? You get to go that far.
And that's why that line in Deadpool 2 was so funny. He said something about an artist who can't draw feet.
Okay.
Because everyone always criticized Liefeld, and his feet were always these tiny little things at the end of these long muscular legs.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Liefeld was the shit, though.
Yeah, he was,
Yep,
and
sure.
My biggest concern going into this movie was Cable going to overshadow everything? Overshadow Deadpool.
Did it somehow.
No, the balance was great. Wow. Cable was still a central character, and we saw a lot of him, but he didn't overshadow Deadpool. Deadpool was still the main star, and Cable's seriousness did not bring things down.
It was right.
The only reason I think I rank this one lower than Deadpool 1 is because number one, Deadpool 1 was the origin story and stuff like that. It had character development. And Deadpool 1 was so cutting edge with the R rating and the violence and the language and stuff like that. This had more of it, but it's not new anymore. It's not cutting edge because they already did it. So that's why I'm not saying that they should have done it a certain way to make it even more cutting edge. I don't know how they could have done it, so I'm happy with how they handled it.
Well
this
said.
was a sequel that held up. It was worthy of the franchise. It wasn't just look. It didn't feel just like a money grab.
No.
Ghostbusters 2.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right about that, and that's important today. It didn't feel like a money grab. It felt like a love letter to us, to the fans, and to the original creators. Ryan Reynolds appreciates this character in a way.
Brian.
Ryan, I said Ryan.
Oh, okay.
My middle name's Ryan. Trust me, I know. I've heard the name. But where was I? Ryan Reynolds. Okay, Ryan Reynolds appreciates the character. You can tell that he's not given something he did not study. When he says, well, shit, before I was an actor, I was reading Deadpool comics, I fucking believe him. I believe him 100% because of the way he attacks this role is effortless. It's him. It's something he was born to play, kind of like Logan was born to be Wolverine. And I'm thinking about the flashbacks after the end credit scene now that I'm talking about Wolverine. You guys remember that shit?
Now, an interesting thing about Ryan Reynolds and how much he cares about this character, and I heard a story, I think it was for Deadpool 2, but it might have been Deadpool 1.
Okay.
I don't really recall. There were some scripting that Ryan Reynolds didn't really like. And so he wanted to get some rewrites. That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. But the studio wouldn't pay for the rewrites because of budget and stuff. So Ryan Reynolds
pulled out his wallet,
paid out of his pocket to have the writers on the set so that they could do rewrites as they went.
That's amazing. That's going over the top of the food chain that doesn't understand, or I've never read a comic, or don't understand why it sells, but it does. He went right over the head and did it right.
Right, and I mean, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds got paid well for this movie, but he's not a blockbuster superstar. He didn't make like $50 million for this or whatever, so paying for that out of his pocket, again, I'm not saying that he
couldn't afford it.
He couldn't afford it. Certainly, I'm sure he lives comfortably.
But
he also owns many businesses and stuff. I don't know if you know that.
So I actually didn't know that, but I assume a smart guy like that with some money has something going on besides acting.
Little segue here. Yesterday, it was it yesterday or just the day before? Just this week, I was driving down the road. There was a truck next to me with Ryan Reynolds' face on it.
Really? You didn't tell me this?
It's he owns a gin distillery. It's called Aviator Gin or something like that.
No way.
And it's got him on it, and it says Ryan Reynolds, owner.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna be getting drunk off that Deadpool juice, man.
Right. So
that sounded gross now that I think about it. Or did it? Oh, I want to talk about one thing. We should probably wrap up the video because we talked a lot about Deadpool 2. Sorry, but thank you for your ears and eyes. I want to talk about something I loved about Deadpool that a lot of people that talk about Deadpool don't really recognize, see, or know what I'm talking about. And this is about the times when Deadpool gets serious. When Deadpool thinks with more than just his mind, do you know what I mean? When he thinks with his heart and his soul, because he does have one, and he's proved it in the comics and a couple rare issues. Actually, I heard a story from Brent yesterday that floored me completely about Deadpool and dealing with the people who want to commit suicide, young kids that want to commit suicide. And it was unbelievable what he told me, and I can't believe I missed the comic, but we'll talk about it a little more and make sure that you guys have a chance to Google and look for it. But besides that, in Deadpool 2, he had little spurts of that. When, spoiler alert, I know we told you guys to turn away, but I gotta say this, when his girl died in part 2, he goes to the middle of the street and he finds the guy that actually killed her. And you look at the look on his face and you know nothing's a fucking joke. Nothing's a joke. He grabs this guy and he hugs him and holds him close. And he makes sure he's hit by a car, him and the guy that killed her. And that whole time, when you're into waiting for the jokes of Deadpool and then you see a real person in there with a heart and a good thinking brain for humanity, I guess. There's some human in him, is what I'm trying to say. Right. Not just a crazy killer.
And absolutely. I do think that I like the Deadpool of the movies better than the Deadpool of the comic books, because the Deadpool in the comic books there's that serious stuff, but there's so much content out there in the comic books that the serious moments get diluted.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at Deadpool 1 and 2 as one continuous story, when he was a merc, he was just living life day to day. He didn't have any purpose. Then he met Vanessa. That made him a person.
Yeah.
And I think that the cancer was not a issue. He wasn't sad for himself. He was sad that he was going to be losing Vanessa when he just really found her in his life.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, he went and got his superpowers, and he was down in the dumps because he thought Vanessa would never have him back.
Yeah.
But when Vanessa got kidnapped by Francis,
Francis!
right, that gave him purpose again.
It did.
And that purpose has extended now through the second movie.
Do you know how good, for the good and the better, she changed him into? Do you know that he decided he didn't need to die, not because he loved someone, it's because he knew other people needed him?
Yeah.
Still was able to realize it's not about me. There's there's motherfuckers out here that need me. And
Right. Your
I
heart's
need
not
them.
in the right place. is what
Yeah,
she said.
and
Yeah.
boy did she put it in the right place. But by the end, he recognized his eyebrows were raised and he knew who the hell he was, and that's why I can't wait for the future. Deadpool's ready to attack anything. Here we go.
Now
X-Force. What do you think? That covers Deadpool 2?
I mean, we could sit here and talk for
we
another
could.
hour, but
that's the type of nerds we are. If you
right.
get us in a room, we'll talk all night till someone shuts us up. You know?
yeah. So, thanks for watching.
Thank you. I gotta say, first video, we're gonna have a lot more stuff to look at behind us, setting up better. Maybe we'll throw some naked superhero posters of
Once we
She-Hulk
figure
and something.
things out,
No, we'll
whatever.
figure it out. But stay tuned. We're only gonna get better. Thank you for watching, and we really appreciate it.
Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, because there's going to be more nerd content coming as often as we can get to the movies or read comics or pick up a new video game or whatever. We're not going to commit to a specific publishing schedule, but we're going to try to get stuff out there as soon as we can, or as often as we can.
Exactly. And let us know, all right? Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what topics you'd like us to cover, anything that's on your guys' mind. That means it's on our mind, all right? We're with you 100%, and we hope you're with us.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Nerd Street!
Nerd Street!
Yeah.